Hello, and welcome to the Conga Bonga tutorial series. In this jam-packed episode, we're going to dive even further into Monkey Maestro to explore additional features designed to enhance your control and speed even further. Let's jump in. Now that you have the general idea of how Monkey Maestro works, we're now going to explore everything else that the manual side of Maestro has to offer. One of the most powerful features inside Maestro is the ability to use custom and common patterns from the two preset scrolls beneath the barrel flicker. The scroll on the left is where you can manage, save, and reuse custom pattern bar patterns, as well as organize them in any way that suits you best. The scroll on the right allows you to manage, save, and reuse custom single block barrel flicker patterns, as well as choose from a range of over 6,000 common presets, which comes with Conga Bonga. This means that right out of the box, you already get tons of pattern-making ingredients at your fingertips. However, you may also want to create your own custom groups of barrel flicker patterns as well. Click the Common button to change it to Custom mode. This here will allow you to save and work with your own presets. To save a barrel flicker preset, select a block in the pattern bar, or add one in if you haven't got one already. And then create the barrel flicker pattern that you want to save. Once you've got your pattern, click Create and give the preset a name. For all intents and purposes, let's call it Pattern 1. With the intended pattern block selected, click Save. Now, anytime you want to use this preset for any selected block, simply select whatever block you want. Double-click your saved preset and it will automatically update the block to what your saved preset is. You can also apply it to multiple selected blocks, like so, using Shift to select multiple blocks before double-clicking to apply the preset. Furthermore, you can also manage and create categories of presets for even better organization. Click Manage. You'll see a pop-up here, which allows you to add and remove categories to which you can save presets to. Click Add to add a category, and then give it a name. Then, when you look at the combo box here, you'll be able to find your category listed in. Let's quickly add some patterns to the category. Note that there is virtually no limit to how many categories you can have, as well as presets that you can add to them. As for working with custom pattern bar presets, the concept is essentially the same, except instead of saving just one block, you can save and work with full pattern bar patterns instead. For example, if I create a pattern like this that consists of multiple blocks, I can save that exact state of the pattern bar as a preset. As you can see, I have now created 3 different patterns and saved them to 3 different presets. So anytime I ever want to use this pattern again, all I have to do is double-click to open up the pattern preset in the pattern bar. And of course, you can create your own categories for saving pattern bar presets in the same way we were able to create barrel flicker pattern categories. Now, I want to show you a few more exciting features that will help make your beat-making workflow even better. If we look over to the top right, you'll notice a banana barrel button here. This convenience feature allows us to control how many beat gaps we want in between pattern bar repetitions when pasting rhythms into the timeline. For example, if I have this set to quote-unquote without gaps, and I make a pattern here and paste it into the timeline, the pattern simply repeats for whatever range is set using the bouncer tool. But now, if we turn this on so as to copy with gaps, we can set how many empty beat spaces we want between each pattern cycle. If I set this to 2, for example, and then paste the pattern into the timeline, we can now see that there are 2 empty beat spaces between each instance of the looped rhythm. And while yes, you can achieve the same effect by adding empty blocks at the end of your pattern in the pattern bar, this simply allows you to do it a little bit more conveniently. Next up, you'll notice this helicopter hat monkey button here. If we click this, we switch over to Jester mode, which allows us to have a quote-unquote controlled chaos culling effect for each beat block of whatever rhythm we are about to paste. For instance, if I have a relatively dense pattern like this in the pattern bar, and I want to keep some idea of that rhythm while trimming it down in a controlled yet randomized way, I can simply choose a range of quote-unquote maximum barrel counts that I can have per block beat. Note that for whatever numbers you choose here, each block's pattern in the pattern bar is randomly assigned one of these numbers, which will govern what its maximum barrel count will be, to which if a given block has more barrels than the number it was randomly assigned, it will randomly pick which barrels to keep and which to remove in order to limit the barrel count to whatever number that was assigned to it. If you're still scratching your head trying to grasp how this works, don't worry. I'll now go through a simplified example so that this will all start to make far more sense. First, I'll create 4 empty blocks in the pattern bar. I'll now make use of the common presets and apply presets from categories containing patterns with high barrel counts. Now that we have this pattern, if I were to select 4, 5, and 6 here, and then copy the pattern bar and paste it into the timeline, you'll notice that a barrel count limitation has been applied to each beat, to which each beat has either 4, 5, or 6 barrels at maximum, but still uses randomly selected barrel slots from the original pattern bar pattern. As you can see, beat 1 has 6 barrels, beat 2 has 5 barrels, beat 3 has 4 barrels, and beat 4 has 6 barrels. And all chosen slots are picked out of the original rhythm that you have here. This can be useful in situations where you have an established rhythm, perhaps from a preset, and a beat already made in the timeline, and you simply want to add a few extra drums while quickly thinning it out a bit, while keeping some of it thick. Hence, the ability to also choose high numbers and not just low numbers using Jester mode. While yes, the density slider here does essentially have a culling effect as well, they both, however, affect things in different ways. Jester mode allows different blocks in the pattern bar to be affected differently in comparison with other blocks, whereas the density slider here affects all blocks in the same way using the exact same culling percentage. Also note that the tools in the pulp menu here will also affect your pasted rhythm while in Jester mode. In most situations, you'll find it's usually best to use Jester mode with the standard settings as shown here. I also want to dive further into each of the individual pulp filters that we have here, and the barrel slots that each of these filters affect. To most effectively demonstrate this, I'll first create one block in Monkey Maestro, and use the right barrel flicker button to turn all 24 slots on. I'll also add one track to the timeline for every pulp mode that we have. The orange pulp that we most regularly use simply has no filter, meaning that when we paste with it, what you see is generally what you get, unless of course you change any of the other settings and/or use Jester mode. The yellow pulp is our 6-note triplet filter. If I go to paste with all 24 slots on while using this pulp, you'll see that it automatically culls all slots except for these specific triplet slots. The lime pulp here is our second triplet filter, and as you can see, it leaves these specific triplet slots on and culls out the rest. The green pulp is our third triplet filter, which also includes offset slots. The aqua and blue pulps cover straight slots, as I'll show you here. And finally, the purple pulp covers a hybrid of both straight and triplet slots. To quickly recap, we also have these additional modes that affect pasting as well. The standard mode has no mask. It just removes anything that's already in the track and replaces it with what you're pasting. Overlay simply leaves what's there, and anything that's new simply gets added in for slots that aren't already active. And cancel simply cancels out any slot that already exists. For example, if I have a rhythm like this in a given track, then attempt to paste this rhythm, it will remove the slots that overlap like so. Whereas overlay will not cancel out any overlapping slots. Here we have distribution modes which affect behavior when pasting a rhythm across multiple selected tracks. Standard simply pastes the same thing for each selected track. Distribute sequential cyclically distributes the rhythm, one active slot at a time, across selected tracks from top to bottom. Distribute random does the same thing, except it ignores doing it from top to bottom and instead chooses a random order which the one-by-one slot distribution is applied. These distribution modes are really effective for very quickly creating rhythms full of instrumental variety without sounding too thick just yet. Now, I'll show you how to reorder tracks in the timeline. Click the Deck of Cards button here to open up a list of all your timeline instruments. Here, you can drag and drop whatever order you want your tracks to be in, or you can automatically order your tracks based on hit type. For instance, if I wanted all my booms, stomps and thuds to come first, followed by all my hits, taps, slaps and smacks, all I need to do is simply drag those hit types in whatever order that I desire, and then click the Auto button, before clicking Accept. This will automatically arrange my instruments based on exactly the hit type order that I've specified. This is super effective for quickly organizing all your tracks at the touch of a button. Furthermore, you can also use the multiplier in quick and clever ways to paste beats in. For example, if I have this pattern here, but I wanted to stretch it out to double the length, I can simply use the multiplier to double the timing. And as you start to get really practiced with Conga Bonga, you'll find yourself regularly using the bouncer range to cleverly narrow in on any section of your compositions in order to sculpt your rhythms with surgical precision. By mastering all these tools, tips and tricks, you'll be able to experience incredible speed and control when it comes to beat making in Conga Bonga. Now that you're far more familiar with Maestro's manual controls, I think you're going to find the next episode to be quite the treat. We're going to cover Maestro's beat generator to generate entire compositions that come exceptionally close to any percussive idea that you have in mind. I'll see you there.